Welcome, wrestling fan, to another episode of Friday Evening's Undercard. I'm John, and today we're here with the special Heroes of Wrestling 20th Anniversary Special. In two separate conversations, I talked to my co-host Eric and my old friend Thurston about what is surely the worst pay-per-view ever. The card is filled with nonsense, from Jake Roberts attempting a promo while significantly impaired to one of Dave Meltzer's 5 worst-rated matches ever. Enjoy the show. Enjoy the conversation, folks. All right, fans, for the special Heroes of Wrestling edition, we've got our special guest back on. Man, what did I call you last time? Did I say you were thunderous? Is that what I called you? I can't remember, man.
Yeah, Thunderous Thurston or something like that.
Yeah, we got Brother Thurston back on for the Heroes of Wrestling. All right, man. What'd you think of the show?
It was awesome. It was the best pay-per-view I've ever seen.
Best pay-per-view you've ever seen. It's I think it's like the Howard the Duck of wrestling pay-per-views.
1999.
Yeah, 1999. So 20 years, like 20 years to the day from when we're going to be releasing this thing. And oh boy, this pay-per-view has not aged well.
No. It looked like 1979 watching it.
Well, the thing is I'm sure nobody actually thought to save like a master copy of that pay-per-view, because as I understand it, the owner was like, or, you know, the guy that was trying to promote this thing, he was like out the door and on an airplane before the show even ended.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he was.
I tried to get some guests on. Like, I tried to email, like, both of the commentators. I tried to email both of those. So, Dutch Mantell, who you probably more recognize as Zeb Coulter.
Yeah, I think they did pretty well for what they had to work with. The commentators, actually. I didn't realize that was him, but I thought, you know, for what they were working with, they weren't bad.
Yeah, so Dutch was actually pretty experienced. I mean, he's done commentary. He did commentary for Jim Cornette's promotion for a few years. He had actually done it, but I guess the thing is they were trying to get Gordon Soley, who, you know, was a big wrestler for WCW, or not wrestler, announcer, big WCW announcer. He was a big announcer in Florida, but he got sick with throat cancer, and so he couldn't be on the road and couldn't commentate. And so, yeah, I guess the only person that was available was that Rosenblum guy, who I'm not sure if he's ever even watched wrestling. He certainly hadn't ever commentated on it.
Right. Well, I wonder if that guy's happy he had throat cancer at the moment.
Well, you know, I mean, he had lived a good life, and I think it might have tarnished his reputation to have been on that show.
So why did they do this?
You know, I don't know.
Did they think it would?
I don't know if I've ever seen like a really good answer for why they did this. I think they just had a guy that had, you know, a pocket full of money, and this was 99, so this was when WWF was cranking, WCW was cranking. Paul Heyman was actually making enough money to pay his bills, which wouldn't be the case in like a year. But, you know, I think he was just like, oh, man, these guys are making a lot of money. Let me see what I can do. And he, you know, I guess you could say he got like probably the best card that he could get, because at that point, I mean, much like
the
now,
card needed the money.
You know, much like now, I mean, we're recording this 40 minutes after the first AEW show went off the air, and, you know, you were talking about Zeb Coulter a second ago. Well, there was Jack Swagger standing there on AEW, and you made the comment like, is that really all they could get? And I'm like, well, yeah, actually he is just about all they can get, because everybody else that has anything resembling name value is signed with WWE. And I mean, that's how it was back then. I mean, everybody would have been signed with WCW or WWF, and then, you know,
the commentators kept mentioning that they might be old or they're still in the game. They're just not signed with those two companies at the moment. So here they are tonight.
And I mean, that's pretty much what you were looking at. I mean, they just got a bunch of guys that, they were at one point in time really good. I mean, Jimmy Snuka was, a megastar at one point in time, but by this time, well, I don't know. He wasn't all that good.
No, not really. So, and then they were in 3 different places that night, according to some people the announcers. They were in Bay St. Louis, of course, but I could have sworn I heard them say St. Louis at one point, and that's a whole different state. And then they were in Biloxi, another point of the show. Of course, all locations in different spots. It's like they couldn't quite figure out where they even were.
Yeah, well, I'm reading through my commentary here, and I'll tell you one person that I didn't know where he was at all, and that's Jake Roberts. So they're still in like the opening, and they say, Jake the Snake's got that 14-foot python here tonight. And then they, just talk about a comment. They said, will he lay it out?
Just keep watching.
Yeah, just keep watching, folks. You'll see.
Well, we could talk about that. Uh-huh.
And talking about keeping watching, that when you sent me the message, when you were like, the video quality's terrible, I didn't want to spoil it, but the comment that I wanted to make was like, man, that video quality is the highest quality thing about this show.
I know. And you have to think about, did TV look like that back then? I don't think so.
No, it didn't.
And I think the guy whoever put that up on YouTube, I think he stole the broadcast anyway, because the first several minutes after he ordered the dang show, it still said to order, call this 800 number. And it was up there for like 10 something minutes before it went away. I was like, I think this guy's pirating the darn show.
Oh, I'm sure he was.
Like, he didn't even pay for it. And I could tell that was DirecTV that he was getting it off of.
Yeah, I mean, no, television didn't look like that, because I remember watching the pay-per-views and the TVs back then. It's like that's what you're getting when he's left a VCR tape in his attic for 10 or 12 years and then tried to digitize it, and he probably recorded on the 6-hour setting, which just destroys the quality anyway.
So, I remember that, the SLP setting or whatever.
Yeah. You had like there was the 2-hour setting, the
medium,
4-hour setting, and the 6-hour setting.
The super long play. Yeah, I think you're right. That's what happened. And it's kind of weird because they were popping up websites. Go to heroesofwrestling.com to find out more. And it's like, gosh, they had the internet back then, because it sure as heck didn't look like it with what you were watching.
No, but I mean, you got to think. I mean, that was back when it was still 28K dial-up internet.
Yeah, absolutely. The old dial tone screeching modem.
Yep.
And just the way the people looked, and that could be with any pay-per-view that's old. It was quite amusing to think that it's just 1999, and to think that that's actually 20 years ago.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy to think that was 20 years ago, and it's crazy to look at some of those people that were in some of the matches, and it's like, man, that was 20 years ago. They were looking bad then.
Yeah, and what do they look like now? Good gosh. Can't stop time.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are not around anymore. We'll get to that.
So let's talk about the card.
Yeah. First match, Samoan SWAT team against Tommy Rogers and Marty Jannetty. I don't
Samoan SWAT team, was that the twins, or they would look like twins if I'm on the right match.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of reminded me of Jimmy and Jay.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, not to be like stereotyping anything, but honestly, they're probably cousins.
Oh, they probably are.
And I don't remember which of them they were. I know they've wrestled here and there, but I don't really remember. One of them looked like he was wrestling in a pair of sweatpants. That's a common theme throughout this show. Marty Jannetty, obviously, we might remember him a little bit from the Rockers with Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, he was on Shawn Michaels' coattails pretty much, and then he got mixed up with drugs, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely got mixed up. I mean, apparently, though, he was the one that everybody thought was going to be the star, and then Shawn just kind of broke out and surprised everybody.
Well, did Shawn kind of subvert him a little bit in the way he did it, or
Now
was he
that
just
I don't know. I don't know if Shawn was quite as political in 1992 when the guys broke up as he ended up sort of becoming.
right?
Yeah, I don't know. There's not a heck of a lot to be said about the match. Jannetty actually
Well,
looks
how
like he can still go a little bit.
and how old was he then? Do you think
Uh,
1999? Probably about 40, maybe.
no, I doubt he was that old. Because I mean, I think Shawn Michaels was 45. No, Shawn Michaels was like 42 when he quit wrestling, and I mean that was 99. So I mean, he was probably 34, 35. It's like I've got an internet browser here. I can look this up real quick. Oh, let's see. Come on, interwebs. Don't let me down.
You got that 28A modem you were talking about.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I think it would be faster. All right, so he was born in 1960. So by 99, he would have been 39 years old.
Okay. Ooh, that's close.
Yeah, not exactly young, but not that old either.
Oh, yeah, there's wrestlers that do that all the time at that age, right?
On this very show. His partner, Tommy Rogers, he's actually deceased now, but he would have been 38. Those are two of the younger members of this card, by the way.
Okay.
But yeah, other than that, I think the thing that stood out the most to me was when Dutch Mantell started yelling on the commentary. He's like, "Let's see if they can take it home, boys," and I'm like, that's got to be the most obvious cue from the commentary booth because they did the 1, 2, 3 like 10 seconds later.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, he had to had somebody in the back like, all right, tell him to go home.
Probably, and get out of here, get on the plane before the card's even over.
Yeah. So yeah, they take a Samoan drop into like a diamond cutter, and the Samoans win.
Yeah, I think I asked you, wasn't the Samoan drop like the stunner or something?
No, I think it's always been like where you get them up on the shoulders and you kind of drop them backwards. I don't think they started bringing in like the stunner or the diamond cutter until a little bit later.
Yeah. It looked eerily familiar to something it may not have been.
Oh, the way they did it actually looks kind of like Brock Lesnar's F5.
Okay.
Now that I think about it.
Seems like a lot of moves look like the RKO as well.
Well, that's true. Yeah. All right. Second match. Greg Valentine with George Steele. Oh gosh, I'm not sure what to say about this one.
Well, who was the lady at his side?
That was Sensational Sherry Martel.
Okay. Well, I thought some of the shenanigans between George and her were entertaining. Sneaking into the hotel room and whatnot, trying to suspend your belief for a minute or two.
Yeah. So let's see. Since we were talking about age, Greg Valentine was born in 1951. So that would have made him, and it's convenient that we're recording this so close because, Wikipedia's got their ages listed right here. He would have been 48 years old. And then George Steele was born in 1937. So if I'm doing math right, he would have been 62.
Really?
Yeah.
At that time, wow.
He would have been 62. So, yeah.
Yeah. What business do you have in the ring at 62?
Well, maybe not the best time to bring it up, but Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express, won the NWA World Tag Team titles last night at their TV taping. And Ricky's 63, and Robert, I think, is 61 or 2.
Kind of reminds me of those clowns on the AAA who were like 100 years old.
Oh, yeah, I did ask you to watch that match, didn't I? With like the psycho clowns and the villains or whatever it was. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, like 400 years old in the ring. Okay, so
yeah. Anyway, yeah, the George Steele match, man. I don't know. There's not much to it. Sherry starts beating him up, pulling his shirt over his head, beating him up, and
And he didn't know who was doing it, supposedly, because the shirt was over his head. He
Right.
couldn't see.
He couldn't see.
So he had no idea that was her the whole time until she went overt with it.
Yeah, and you know, they just completely bury the ref in this match because they're hitting with those foreign objects just in clear view of the ref.
Mm-hmm.
And then she hits George with the chair, and the ref is looking right at her. He just doesn't even call it. So it's like, all right, well, I guess that was like a no DQ match or something.
Yeah, was it a no DQ match?
Who knows? I don't think they know what was going on.
Yeah, I don't think they had any idea what was going on either.
But yeah, Greg Valentine wins after a ton of interference from Sherry, and I gotta say it was kind of amusing. But when you consider that George Steele basically played like a mentally ill person for his whole career, and now you've got Sherry taking advantage of a mentally ill person, I think looking back on it now, it's like, oh, that's not too classy, is it?
That just would not fly today.
No, I don't think you could get away with that.
No.
I don't think you could get away with, Charlotte Flair taking advantage of Eugene.
No. And yeah, off topic, I guess a little bit off match topic. How big was that arena at that casino, and how many people were really there? Because the quality of the tape, that and the way the lighting is, the crowd just faded off into blackness after the third row.
Yeah, so on the Wikipedia page, it lists an announced attendance of 2,300.
Oh gosh. So subtract about 2,000.
No, they probably did. They probably got close to that. I mean, because wrestling was hot. They did it at a casino. I'm sure the casino promoted the heck out of it to their customers. And it was purchased.
Well, that just seems.
It got 29,000 pay-per-view buys.
Is that good? It doesn't sound very.
No, it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
They wanted to get 40. I guess 40 was like the break-even number. Like, okay, if we get 40, we can continue doing these things going forward. But they only got 29, so they just stopped.
Well, I don't know if you watched all the way to the very end where it went off, where the recording stopped, but it looked like they were about to start an encore, and it said to order, it's $19.99. $19.99. Adjust for inflation, I don't know what that would be today. Maybe $40?
Yeah, probably something like that. I'm trying to think. Like, I don't remember how much they used to charge for pay-per-views.
It seems a little bit low, but again, it wasn't SummerSlam or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say. So I know in like '96, I think normal WWE pay-per-views were $29, and that's when they came out with those in-your-house pay-per-views that they only went 2 hours with, and I think they charged $19 for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Mania was always a premium if you wanted to buy WrestleMania. It was always $10 more than the rest.
Well, of course. And then you didn't have HD either, so there wasn't a premium price for HD.
No.
Of course, I remember back in the day, we'd all just go to the bar and they would have it.
Oh, yeah. Back when it was popular, absolutely, they would have it.
Yeah, back when it was popular, they had it. You could always go, and it would be there.
Now, I don't know if you could hope to find it at a bar.
No, I don't even think you'd find WrestleMania on at a bar.
No, probably not.
It's not cool anymore.
No, they're not getting the views they were. Anyway, next match, we go to Too Cold Scorpio and Julio Fantastico.
Julio Fantastico. Tell me about him, because is he who I'm thinking? Is he which one was the Mr. Kennedy one?
No, that's Stan Lane.
Oh, Stan Lane, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, honestly, I don't really know who Julio Fantastico is. Too Cold Scorpio, you probably saw him some in WCW back in that time period. He did some work for them. I don't think he was he wasn't a big timer. He was kind of a mid-card guy.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, Fantastico. I mean, it looks just like he was sort of a mid-card guy. did a little bit. He made like a couple appearances on WWE just as a job guy, just like local talent. That's pretty much it. Not really well known.
So why are they even on this card? What's the big deal about these guys?
Honestly, I don't know. You know, because that's really a legit question, because I don't know if they had like some sort of a feud going in ECW that they were able to bring over, or what was going on. But no, you're exactly right. I mean, they are the two that don't belong, right? Because they're relatively young guys, and they're not washed up and like old WWF legends, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not old hacks. So I don't really recall anything spectacular about this match.
No, I certainly don't. I mean, I got a couple notes, but I mean, just some flipping and flying stuff, which I mean for that time was pretty weird, but
a big deal.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I got nothing on that one.
No, I don't either. Okay, so while we're at this, I have the star ratings that our fantastic friend Dave Meltzer gave these matches. The first match got 1/2 of 1 star. The George Steele Greg Valentine match got -3.
Is that possible?
Oh yes, -3.
Okay.
The Too Cold Scorpio and Julio Fantastico match got 1.25 stars. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and spoil that. That makes it the highest rated match of the show.
All right.
Oh, gosh. We get this terrible promo with Lou Albano talking about how he's going to be the new commissioner. And you're just like, yeah, dude. Watching it back now, like, that's really funny because it's like, man, y'all really thought you had something going here, didn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, what was the build to this? I mean, as far as, were these guys just thrown together and you're going to fight, or was there any heat between them at all?
No, I think they were honestly just thrown together. They just got a bunch of guys and put them together and tried to shoot some angles. That's why you saw some of the stuff where they were out back, like beating each other up, trying to get a little heat for the match,
Yeah, 1.5 or 1.25 stars.
Match
It's
of the
amazing.
night. Okay, now we go to a fantastic. The Bushwhackers, or formerly the Bushwhackers, or whatever they were calling them, against Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik.
Now, this was a train wreck.
This match went a very painful 8 minutes and 42 seconds.
And how long were they actually in the ring, just stomping around and saluting? And
a lot longer than that, because you had that stupid club demonstration from the Sheik. You had the Russian national anthem from Volkov. And then the Bushwhackers came down and started licking all the people at ringside and doing their stupid stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they all four started off in the ring, and I have written down they start out brawling, all four moving in slow motion.
Yeah, it looked like botchamania to me.
It's like they went out and unintentionally did what these goofs do now when they start moving in slow motion in the matches. Like, they were moving at that slow speed because that's all they had.
You could just hear the joints cracking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You've got the crowd down there in Mississippi. They're chanting USA the whole time. And, yeah, I don't know if they noticed, but there's no Americans in that match.
What are the Bushwhackers, British or something?
New Zealand.
New Zealand, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got two New Zealanders. Volkov's Eastern European. I don't know if he's legitimately Russian, but he's definitely Eastern European. And then the Sheik, I mean, he's legitimately from Iran.
Yeah. Doesn't he have real heat with somebody? I forget, like Mr. T or something somewhere.
Oh, I don't know. He acts like he has heat with everybody on Twitter.
Hmm.
If you want some comedy, just get Twitter just to follow him.
Okay.
I mean, 'cause it's funny stuff. Nothing that can be repeated on this program, I'll tell you that.
You think it has a lot to do with dementia and being senile?
Yeah, well, who knows? I mean, yeah, he probably took some bumps to the head. He took a few cracks to the head in this match, I think.
Yeah, they did a lot of. I saw a lot of headshots with chairs.
You know, that's something that we're not really used to now because WWE hasn't done that in years. But I mean, back
then, hey,
'99, I mean, they were 2 or 3, 4 a night. I mean, this is the same year that you had that the Rock match against Mankind, where he hit him like 15 times straight in the head, unprotected.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I have that it had the weakest backbreaker I've ever seen from Nikolai Volkov. It had probably the worst looking camel clutch I've ever seen from Iron Sheik.
You're just laughing through the whole match, or you just feel sorry for him. You don't know what to do.
Yeah, oh gosh. And then there was a low blow, clearly in the view of the ref, and I was like, I think every match so far has had a low blow or some sort of interference with the ref looking like right at it.
And didn't do anything.
And the ref didn't do anything, yeah. Yeah, and then we go to the finish where you get Sheik tries to hit somebody with a foreign or Sheik gets hit with a foreign object. The Bushwhackers get a pin, and it's the fastest 3 count I've ever seen. That ref wanted to get out of there.
Yeah, he did.
They needed that ref in the Sting Hogan match at Starrcade instead of Nick Patrick.
Do we even know who any of these refs were?
No, I have no idea who they were.
Who was next?
Oh, we got some quick commentary, and then we'll go through the next 3 matches just real quick because there's not much to them. So this match was rated -5 stars.
So how does this Meltzer thing work? I didn't think you could get below a no star.
No, he goes into the negatives every now and then for some of the really bad ones. He doesn't do it very often. I will give him that. He doesn't do it a heck of a lot, but he'll do it for some of them.
When was the last time a match in recent history went into the negatives?
So let's see. The match with the Clowns was 2015. But that was in Mexico, so not like WWE or anything.
Something mainstreamish.
WWE No Way Out 2007, where you had Finley and Hornswoggle against the Boogeyman and a miniature Boogeyman.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
That got -3 stars. Let me look down and see if there's anything more recent. Well, there was a TNA match from 2016 that got -2.5. That was like some 6 women, looks like just some nonsense thing. Let's see.
Gimmick match. Finley probably didn't want to do the match at all.
No, I'm sure he wanted nothing to do with it. Yeah, it doesn't actually look like, oh gosh. SummerSlam 2007, he gave -1.5 stars to Great Khali versus Batista.
Well, Great Khali, he can't move at all.
No, he can't. Let me see. Was that big?
A gigantic Indian?
Well, I was trying to see what it was. I was wondering if that was one of those big cage matches that they did with him.
Oh.
But it wasn't. No, that's pretty much it. He doesn't give the negatives out too often. It's got to be something pretty bad. I mean, he didn't even give a negative to that Goldberg Undertaker match from Saudi Arabia, which I thought, my gosh, that's got to be a negative. It's the worst pay-per-view match ever.
But it wasn't in the negative. What did he give that one?
He said a dud, so 0.
Okay.
Anyway, speaking of duds, the next match on this card gets a dud, and that's Tully Blanchard against Stan Lane.
Tully Blanchard won, didn't he?
Yeah, he sure did.
Stan Lane, yeah. Who is this cat? Never heard of him.
So,
I don't think.
So Stan Lane. No, you probably wouldn't have because I mean, really, by the time you started watching WCW, I mean, he was pretty much out of the business. You know, he pretty much retired in 1995.
Wow. Retired with who? Or where?
Well,
what promotion?
Stan was actually big back in the 80s. He was part of the Midnight Express. He won the WCW World Tag Team Championships. It was him and Bobby Eaton. That's another name you may not recognize. And Jim Cornette. And I know you recognize that one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, he did that one. And then he had a couple other tag team partners over the years. I think he was a member of the Fabulous Ones, okay. I think. And then he was part of the Heavenly Bodies, and they were one of the main event tag teams in Jim Cornette's promotion that he ran up in Tennessee, up in Knoxville, Tennessee.
So how old was he in 1999? He didn't look old.
No, he actually wasn't that old, and he kept himself in good shape. He doesn't actually look that old now. He would have been 46.
He looked younger than that.
Yes,
on that blurry-ass screen.
He actually did. I will give him that. He actually looked a lot younger than 66 when I saw him in Charlotte at the Crockett Cup this year. I mean, you know, yeah, obviously he looks like he's aged, but I wouldn't have said more than like 55.
Oh, not bad. Oh. Okay.
Yeah, he looks pretty good, but yeah, he was. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say who like the bigger stars are, but and obviously Tully. I mean, you know who Tully is from
Yes.
from the Horsemen.
Well, Stan came out there talking all kinds of smack like he was God's gift, like he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
It
Yep.
was very smug. I liked it. I'm going to win. I'm going to kick your butt, and that's just the way it is. And of course, he wound up losing. But
Yeah.
oh well.
And I don't know if you caught this, but after he does that promo and he introduces himself, when they panned out to the crowd, I swear that was Randy Orton sitting in the crowd that they panned to.
I'd have to watch that again.
It looked just like him.
Well, that would make total sense.
Well, yeah, because his dad was on the card.
Yeah.
So it would make sense. And I did actually do the math. It would be possible for him to have been there because he was discharged from both the Marine Corps and the brig by that point in time.
And how old would he have been?
19.
Okay.
18 or 19. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, I don't really have I don't have anything. The Rosenblum commentator guy, he kept just going on and on and on about how the women in the crowd were mesmerized by Stan Lane.
Nothing else to talk about.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Tully wins on an odd finish, like both their shoulders were down and he gets his up, and so Stan loses. And then I swear, I think they spent 10 minutes doing replays of the finish.
Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, they probably did. They do the same thing today, though. Same kind of finish. Who's got their shoulders down? Who's got their shoulders up?
Yeah. Well, now we get another Matt classic between Abdullah the Butcher and One Man Gang. And you start off with a promo from the gang, and I swear it sounded like he had the Ultimate Warrior write the promo for him because it made no sense. He was all over the place, just ranting and raving and going crazy.
Yeah, the announcer was like, yeah, okay, whatever, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, who is this guy?
Which one?
One Man Gang.
He started out in the New Orleans area, like in about 81, and then he had a good run with WWF for a while. I think he was on 2 or 3 WrestleManias. They turned him into this joke where he was called the African Dream, which was like a direct shot right at Dusty Rhodes because they got this fat guy and called him the African Dream instead of the American Dream.
I don't even know if you could do that today.
No, I don't think you could, especially because he's just like milky white.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did some work in WCW, and that was about it. I think he's done some stuff here and there, but this was pretty much the end of the road for him.
And yeah, he took some good shots.
Took some good shots. He was hitting Abby with a chain. Abdullah was busted open about a minute into the match, which, if you've ever seen an Abdullah match, shouldn't surprise you.
Was it genuine or a blade?
Oh, I'm sure it was a blade. That's one of the biggest criticisms is that he had like the taped blades in his fingers, and he would cut himself, and then he'd cut other people. And apparently he had hepatitis and passed hepatitis around to a bunch of people.
No kidding.
Yeah. Because I think it was Superstar Billy Graham, and you can't really tell with Graham because he says some crazy off the reservation stuff, but maybe I probably shouldn't say that either. Sorry, folks. I'm not editing that out, but sorry. Billy Graham says some crazy stuff. So I don't know if he's for real, but he blames Abdullah for him having Hep C.
Well, there might be some credibility to that.
But yeah, so they take the chair shots to the head, and this was another time when it was like just crazy obvious. They're over there wrestling around the commentary desk, and Dutch Mantel goes, well, we need to stop this, folks. And like 5 seconds later, the bell rings. Double disqualification, bell rings.
Yeah. Just go figure. It's magic, guys.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
let's talk about that fork.
Oh, that was Abdullah's thing. He would stab people in the head with his fork and bust them open.
And so do you think that was a legit fork? Sounds kind of painful to me. Sounds more painful than a blade getting stabbed with a fork.
Probably. I don't think Abby cared. That was his thing. Go look at some pictures of him. You can see like the gig marks on his head. I mean, they're it's ridiculous. because he cut himself every match he ever worked.
Who else did that? Dusty Rhodes, right?
Yeah, Dusty was pretty beat up. I mean, he eventually got like surgery to sort of clean his forehead up. I think a lot of guys did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as Abby the Butcher was, you got the line between kayfabe and genuine nuts. Where do you think he was?
I mean, from a lot of people who've talked about being around him, I mean, I think he was just a guy that was his thing. It's how he got over, and it's how he stayed over. And he worked with these big, huge guys, Bruiser Brody and some of those guys, and they worked these matches, and they just beat each other up with chains and forks, and they went all around the building, and that was what he did.
Yeah, paid off, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he was a main event talent for a number of years.
Yeah, I mean, he's a name that you've heard of.
So anyway, the next match, Jimmy Snuka and Bob Orton Jr. start fighting at a poker table. That was pretty stupid.
That was stupid. That was the dumbest thing ever.
We'll get back into the card thing here in a minute. Jake's going to tell us all about how to play cards in the casino. And you get a ridiculous Lou Albano promo, as if he doesn't do any good promos, or at least at that time. And then you get a really bad promo from Bob Orton Jr. I don't have a heck of a lot to say about this one.
It was a terrible promo. It was garbage. It's like, is this just how it was back then? The garbage promos? I mean,
no, it wasn't. That's how these guys were doing it by then. I mean, it's a good thing that if you wanted to really hear some garbage promos, just go listen to some of the stuff Superfly Snuka said. But, back in the 90s when he was all, baked out and everything. They don't make any sense at all.
Yeah, because I was just watching Bob Orton, and I was like, what in the hell is he talking about? Or, ooh, I'm so scared. I mean, you just look like a big doofus up there.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Go. It was terrible, terrible, terrible. Embarrassing.
Probably the only noteworthy thing about this match was that Bob Orton actually did a pretty good suplex, where he did that vertical suplex where he holds the guy in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was probably it. The only other two, there are a couple other noteworthy things. They did about a 5-minute arm bar, and then a couple of pretty lewd chants from the crowd. The more sanitary version of them was where they chanted, "Bob, you suck." And the other one, they said, "Bob is a fill in the blank with the slur against gay people."
Yeah, I thought that's what I heard.
Well, and the crazy thing is Dutch Mantel acknowledges it on commentary. He says, "Well, that's a mighty rude thing to say, talking about a guy's sexual orientation."
I just think, 20 years ago, I was thinking to myself, did people behave like that back then? I mean, I know it's wrestling and people get out of character, but even today, you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't hear that at an event. I don't think.
No, you probably wouldn't. That being said, we haven't been live in the audience of a show that was this bad. By this point, they had been subjected to 2 hours of pretty terrible stuff. I bet they were tired of being there.
That is true. I'm thinking that probably half of the crowd was at the bar in the casino by now.
Oh, yeah, probably. Anyway, this one got a -1 star. The negative star thing is a trend with this show.
Oh, you think it was bad.
And then we get the fantastic main event. I mean, this is I don't know. This is like Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat caliber stuff.
Didn't it start off as a singles match and then it basically morphed into a tag?
Yes, it was supposed to be 2 singles matches. It was supposed to be Anvil against Jake in one match, and then Bundy against Yokozuna in another match.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. Okay, so Jake does that crazy promo, and for anybody listening to this that has not seen it, you got to go watch it. It starts at 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 5 seconds. Go listen to it.
Yeah. Tell us about it.
He starts talking about playing blackjack, and he's like, "Well, you got 21. Well, I got 22.
Good for you."
My gosh. It got worse from there.
Not how any of this works, but okay, yeah.
He was lit.
Yeah, he was. And the announcer says, "I don't think Jake State knows where he's at right now."
Oh, yeah. No, he had no idea where he was.
And I don't think it was in, a comment towards a a wrestling move where he got laid out. It's just I don't think he knows where he's at.
So anyway, Jake comes down. He puts his snake in the ring. He walks back. He staggers. Let's say it right here. He staggers back up the ramp.
Yeah, up the ramp.
And then he comes back down with his shirt off, and you get that crazy scene where he's got that woman rubbing his chest.
Yeah, some really old woman rubbing his chest.
Yeah.
And all his hair's falling out. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's wearing sweatpants tucked into his cowboy boots.
Because of course.
Yeah, because why not? What else would you wear other than sweatpants?
Exactly.
They do a little bit of a lockup, and then Anvil gets out of the ring, and I think he actually walked to the back, and it's almost like he walked back there to like kill time and say like, get somebody else out here. He ain't wrestling. Yeah, and then they finally get.
Well, then the snake comes out of the bag.
Yeah, man, you stole my thunder. I had a good line for that.
Oh man.
He goes over in the corner and he whips out the snake, and then you get Dutch Mantell on the commentary, and he's like, he's showing it to everybody. And then the other guy's like, look at the size of that thing. And, he's holding it like right at his groin. So it's like obvious what he's trying to do. And that's actually the point where they just cut the shot out to the crowd. So they're not even looking at him anymore. They're just out in the crowd while he's in there being, whatever he was with the snake.
Yeah, this poor snake.
and then finally, here comes Bundy lumbering down to the ring to save the day.
Yeah.
And then Anvil jumps in the ring, and it looked like he was laying it to Jake. I mean, those shots to Jake's back looked pretty stiff.
To me, Anvil looked good. I mean,
oh yeah, he actually looked probably as good as anybody on the show compared to what he was in his prime. I mean, let's see, 55. He was born in 55, so he would have been 44.
Yeah, I mean, he looked all right. He looked like he still had it.
Yeah, it looked like he could have still gone, like he did originally. And then Bundy comes in the ring, and it looks like he is just kicking Jake for real.
Like, we're tired of this.
And then
who?
Go ahead.
Yeah, and then I was going to say, who is the? I guess it's skipping forward a little bit. The Bundy, the little Bundy kid or whatever it was.
I have no idea who that was.
He was ringside.
I legitimately have no idea who that was. It's listed in the results here that his name was Michael Henry, but I have no idea who that is.
No relation to Mark Henry.
No. Oh, apparently, let me see. What does it say here? Apparently, he was like one of the producers. And so he probably just sent him out there, be like, yep, we're making this a tag match. You guys do what you're doing.
And then he got involved.
Yeah. And then Yokozuna comes, lumbering down to the ring. He looks like he weighs 1,000 pounds.
Easy. You could just see it all jiggling in his.
I mean, the announcers said that he weighed 650. I don't believe that for a second. If you'd have said 750, I probably would have believed it. But not 650. He was huge.
Yeah, but how old was he? He looked young.
Well, yeah, he died pretty young.
Yeah, he's gone.
He was actually 33 because he died when he was 34. So he was the youngest on the show, surely. 1966 he was born. Probably the only other ones. Nope, Scorpio was older. Oh, Julio Fantastico. There you go. There's your youngest guy, 1972.
Okay.
Yeah. This match mercifully ends. Jake takes some very stiff-looking chair shots right to the head. I'm pretty sure Anvil was laying them in pretty hard because I'm sure he was not happy.
Yeah, he's probably PO'd.
Yeah, and then
I wonder what he thought about that snake.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure the snake itself probably didn't bother him. It's probably just what Jake was doing with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Bundy pins Jake Roberts. Jake can barely stand up. Good grief.
The end.
Yeah, and mercifully the pay-per-view comes to an end. Yeah. The funny thing is the Bushwhackers match was rated -5, and I don't think that was the worst match on the show. I think this match was the worst. I mean, it was just, come on, just horrible. Just horrible.
The whole card.
Yeah, the whole card, just terrible. Some trivia about the Bushwhackers match. because of this match, the Bushwhackers have the highest spread in Meltzer's star ratings. They actually have 10 because they had a 5-star match, like a +5, and then they had this one. They're the only two that have like a 10-star.
A 10,
gap.
10-point spread.
Yeah.
I think somewhere in the show that they said they were talking about a Heroes of Wrestling 2.
Oh yeah, I mean
Or
that was the goal. If they got enough pay-per-view buys and stuff, I mean they were supposed to kind of take this on tour. You know, they were supposed to try to do 4 or 5 of them a year.
That didn't happen. I'm wondering who was throwing tomatoes at their televisions.
Oh gosh, there had to be some people. Oh, I can't imagine paying for this, like, and trying to sit through it live. Like,
yeah, the people were the crowd was pretty hot, but I don't know if that's because they were pissed or what.
Yeah, I got to think by the end. I mean, I'm sure they were angry because I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to see that Jake Roberts was smoked out of his mind.
Is this where we see we see clips of Jake Roberts smoked, and I'm guessing that it's all clips of just this one pay-per-view. I was like, oh, there's that clip again of Jake Roberts smoked. It must be Heroes of Wrestling.
I'm not sure because you're talking about the one where he was on that Beyond the Mat documentary. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I don't remember where he. I don't remember where they filmed that, but yeah, he was pretty messed up.
And he's had some health problems, I think, more recently.
Well, yeah, not
probably age related.
Age and crack cocaine use related.
Was that his drug of choice?
Yeah, apparently he was like loading up his crack pipe on the documentary, and they sort of cut the camera away. But I mean, he was like loading it up to have him a smoke.
Wow.
Yeah, just
nice.
Crazy. But yeah, that's the end of the show. What were sort of your general thoughts of it?
Why am I watching this?
Yep.
There went a couple hours of my life. It's sad seeing these guys put in this situation for, I guess, money. I mean, are they hurting that bad? I mean, these are a lot of big names. You know, I probably, unless I was just really hurting for money, would have said pass.
You know, it's probably one of those things where like the concept sounded better than the execution ended up being. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, oh, this is going to be awesome. All these superheroes all in one, building in one night, and your money's going to go real far watching this card. But it's not, though. It's
yeah, it just went downhill fast. Yeah, once you saw Greg Valentine and George Steele in the ring with a combined age of 110 or whatever it was, you're like, oh, yeah, this don't sound as good anymore.
It doesn't. And even the commentators said, these guys are really old, so they've had to learn. They're still very talented, but they've had to learn to work smarter and not harder.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
it's not really the best
terrible
thing you want to say about your guys that you're trying to make money with.
No, it wasn't good at all. And it's just, you're admitting to the facts here. This is just old people crotchety and around.
Yeah.
With their and the venue. I don't know if that was the best venue if you're going to promote a quote unquote large pay-per-view.
Well, I mean, I don't know where you could go with it unless you go to like a small size college gym. You know what I mean? Well, they probably did it in the ballroom at that, hotel casino down there.
Yeah, back in the day, back in the late 90s, weren't a lot of these casinos basically just almost barges on the sound of the Mississippi?
Yeah.
They weren't even like real huge buildings yet.
Yeah, no, I think it was like this time, maybe a little bit later, that they started building all the big stuff. But I mean, they still could have gone to New Orleans if they wanted it on the Gulf. I'm sure they could have gone to the Hard Rock or whatever in New Orleans.
Could they not have sold out in a 15,000 person arena, like just your typical Raw or SmackDown sized crowd?
I mean, I doubt it. I mean, not if they only sold 2,300 here. I mean,
Did they sell 2,300 because that's all they could sell, or is because that was capacity?
well, I guess that's a good point. I don't actually have the answer to that, but I feel like if they thought they could sell out a big arena, they probably would have booked it there because they're only. I mean, Bay St. Louis is only what 30 minutes from the Mississippi Gulf Coast Coliseum.
Yeah, and SmackDown used to go to that.
Yeah, and I mean that's not a huge building. I mean maybe 12 or 13,000 at the most. It's certainly not the Greensboro Coliseum or something with 23,000 people or whatever.
I'm just wondering if it was in the back of their minds. Wow, this show's gonna suck. You know?
I think once they actually started seeing it in the ring, it became pretty apparent that this is bad. This is bad. So a couple of funny stories. I tried to email both of the commentators and I didn't hear anything back. So like the question I wanted to ask was like, so when that show was over, were you guys like high-fiving and stuff in the back like, all right guys, I'll see you again next month, or were you just like packing your bags and be like, well, it was good, fellas. See you around. I don't think we're doing this one again.
What do you think?
I think it was the latter. I think they I think they knew probably halfway through that, oh boy, this is bad. And then and then when they saw Jake Roberts walk in the door, smoked out of his mind, and he's supposed to be like the main event, I'm pretty sure it was like, yeah, this is bad. This is really bad.
Yeah, he still collected his paycheck and walked anyway. I mean,
yeah, I guess he collected his paycheck. I wouldn't feel bad if he didn't.
I wouldn't either.
Because apparently he's stiffed a bunch of promoters over the years. Like he'll take like advances from them or whatever and then never pay them back. Just leave the territory.
Well, shame on the promoter.
Yeah.
You know what you're dealing with. I mean, was Jake the Snake ever really that great?
In the 80s when he was functionally impaired, I guess would be a good word. Functionally impaired. But yeah, you go back and watch some of his stuff from the 80s. I mean, he was really solid. And I mean, that's what kind of carried him into the 2000s, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he was the one that put over Steve Austin at King of the Ring that one year. Yeah, he's the one that Austin beat right before he did the 316 promo.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because that was the whole thing. They brought Jake back, and he had this like religious gimmick, and he's like, I think the line was something like, "You thump your Bible, you tell me you're John 3:16, well Austin 3:16," and so that's how it came up. And then he starts saying to go get him a bottle of Thunderbird so he can get his courage back.
Bottle of Thunderbird turns your tongue black.
Yeah, apparently it does. I ain't never drank Thunderbird.
Don't.
All right, man. You wanna put a wrap on this one?
Yeah.
All right, we'll put a wrap on it.
Yeah, put a bow on that one. Put a bow on that turd.
Yep. All right, fans. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again. All right, here we are. Me and Eric back again. Man, we were talking about some stuff before we started recording. The NWA show that they did the recordings of this week. Let's just expose it. We're recording this the day after the AEW premiere. So we're doing this on a pretty big week in the wrestling business.
Yes, certainly one of the bigger weeks that I can remember in a while. I mean, you've got AEW, you've got basically the season premieres of the WWE product. So, yeah, a lot going on in the wrestling world.
And obviously SmackDown going to Fox at the end of the week.
Yeah, who would have ever thought we would see pro wrestling in prime time?
On like a broadcast, a broadcast television network. But yeah, so a couple things out of the NWA show. I added it up. They recorded 33 matches.
It's a lot of wrestling.
In 2 days, they recorded 33 matches. So who knows, like, how much time that's going to take as far as their shows that they're producing. And I think they said that's coming out next Tuesday. They're going back to the old 6:05, the Turner time.
You know, I love that. I mean, that just brings back a lot of childhood memories.
But yeah, certainly. I
I mean,
remember.
there's places in the South you just go and you say, "Hey, 6:05." Everybody's like wrestling.
Yeah,
I mean, it's iconic.
It was 6:05 on Saturday, right?
Yeah, it was always 6:05 on Saturday.
And what time was the Sunday show?
I think it was like at 5:05 for some reason.
Yeah,
I don't think it was at 6:05. It's like whenever they stopped showing Perry Mason or Andy Griffith.
Yeah.
So I used to get angry as a kid. Like, you turn on and expect to see wrestling. All of a sudden, it's like Perry Mason. I don't want to see this nonsense.
No, that's not what I came here to see, folks.
I came here to see Van Hammer.
Yeah. And speaking of the old 6:05 time slot, we're throwing it back, way back. The Rock and Roll Express won the tag team championships at the NWA show. And I'm not really sure what I think of that.
Yeah, maybe it's great for nostalgia pop. I mean, it worked when like WWE put the straps back on the New Age Outlaws. That was kind of cool. But those two guys could still relatively go. I think it's a little less believable when guys in the 60s winning a world title.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not that Ricky and Robert can't go. I mean, they can still do stuff in the ring, but it's like, what does that do for the guys that they beat?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't do anything for the guys that they beat. It doesn't, like, really do anything for the guys that beat them because they're not going to carry the championships forever. I mean, I assume they're going to carry them up to the next taping, and with 33 matches, I mean, my gosh, they might have enough that might be 6 or 7 episodes worth.
I mean, the only way I could see it is if, if I was booking it, I'd have, Ricky and Robert in the ring. If these guys were like heels who are trying to get over, have them come out, have them run down the Rock and Roll Express, maybe have something along the lines of, you guys aren't anything, we'll show it to you. And then all of a sudden have the match, put the strap on the line, have kind of a, just shocking win, like a roll up or something, gets those guys super heat. Next week, come out and have them just beat the absolute tar out of the Rock and Roll Express, get the heat back, then you're good. But it doesn't make that team look strong.
No, and apparently it was a clean win. I know Jim Cornette, there's all the pictures out there where he got in the ring with him afterwards, and if he would have got up from the announce booth and like just bent the racket over the guy's head and then they won, I could see that. But yeah, apparently I was talking to somebody that was there. Apparently it was a pretty clean win.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think you almost need kind of harkening back to like when the 1-2-3 Kid beat Razor Ramon. That was actually perfect because it didn't really hurt the Razor character, and it built up the 1-2-3 Kid. But you're able to eventually get that heat back, and I mean that's where I think if you're having them win the title just to win the title, I don't know what that does. It needs to hopefully be leading somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, though, from what everybody says, Billy Corgan and the guys with the NWA, I mean, they do have a pretty decent plan, even if they're not spilling it out like the AEW guys are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess we'll just see what happens.
Apparently, they're planning a pay-per-view for sometime later in the year. We'll see how that goes. I mean, they have some good talent signed.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, not as much as everybody else has. Well, anyway, to go from a resurgence week in pro wrestling to take the clock back 20 years from when we released this, oh boy, Heroes of Wrestling.
1999, a simpler time.
Yes.
We were both in high school.
And it was a time, not to jump too far ahead here, it was a time when it was okay for a woman to take advantage of a mentally handicapped man on a television program.
Yes.
We get that in the second match.
Well, and keep in mind, too, we're almost, we're recording this October 3rd. I think the show was October 10th of 1999, so we're almost 20 years to the day.
Yeah, we're right at 20 years.
So, I mean, we have to think like 97, 98. Some people say those are maybe two of the greatest years in pro wrestling history. And so this is certainly coming off the heels of that. I mean, you can understand why they're doing it, you know. This is, on paper, it seems like a good idea.
Yeah, on paper it seems like a good idea.
And frankly, if this was 1989, this would be a killer card.
Yeah, yes it would.
But it's not good on paper, and it's not 1989.
Well, no, I do think on paper, like, it seemed like, you know what, maybe this could be a good idea.
I mean, like, you look at some of the matches, you're like, they're not tremendously bad. Like, who's on paper there for the matches?
Until they get in the ring.
Then they get in the ring. So,
well, so I recorded last night with Thurston, and he was mine and his episode will come up after this, but he was asking, like, why did they pick these guys? And I'm like, well, I don't know for sure the answer to that, but if you think about it, I mean, WWF's running, WCW's running, they got all these guys under contract, ECW's running, and in 99, Heyman was actually paying people. There's probably not too many other talent out there that they can get.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly no, like, young talent.
Well, and also, let's face it, in pro wrestling, nostalgia sells. Like, there's a reason, I think I read on Monday Night Raw, the highest rated segment was Hogan and Flair. Even though it was a train wreck, it just shows the power. So you trot these guys out that are, past their prime, people still have that affection for them and those memories. I mean, why do you think wrestling conventions are so big?
Yeah.
There's probably some guys making as much money probably on conventions. Sometimes.
All right. Anyway, technical difficulty there. You were talking about guys making money off of conventions.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue probably in some cases, some guys are making as much money off conventions than sometimes they were actually when they were actively wrestling.
In some of the cases, yeah, that's probably the case, especially for guys that didn't have, like, the high-end contracts.
Right. I mean, you think back to days when you're getting paid off the house. You're not basically a guaranteed deal.
Yeah, and now, I mean, I suspect some of these guys are making, close to $1,000 an appearance for some of these, conventions. And I think guys like Cornette, like, I don't think he even takes, like, a payoff. He's just like, like, I'll take a small payoff as long as I can. Just give me free rent on my booth.
Yeah.
Because he's going to make a lot more money than they would ever pay him.
Yes, I mean, certainly this is playing into that. I mean, yeah, I think this is certainly an idea. I mean, I think the idea was that it was supposed to be a series of pay-per-views that would feature these guys.
Yeah.
Which, once again, on paper is not a bad idea, and I think depending on how you would portray it, we will admit 98, 99, the business was not exactly as family friendly as it maybe later becomes.
No,
this can be maybe a more family friendly alternative. That's not necessarily a bad idea.
Yeah, I don't think that's the way they went, though.
Yeah, it certainly not go that way.
Especially in that main event.
And we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. All right.
So I guess, one thing that I found interesting, the idea is that it would be kind of dream matches with well-known figures. And I guess the original announcer was announced as Gordon Soley.
Yeah, it was announced as Gordon Soley.
And, of course, he's not on the show.
Right.
I guess I did a little research. I guess that he had been diagnosed with throat cancer and was unable to do it, and nobody mentioned that. So all of a sudden, we're saying it's going to be Gordon Soley, and Gordon's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you watched the same thing on YouTube as I did because, I feel like neither one of us owned the VHS tape to this.
And if we did, we wouldn't admit it.
You know, at this point, I think I would actually admit it if I owned the VHS to this, because that's probably pretty rare. I doubt they made too many of those.
Well, I mean, my question is, how did it come into me? I would hate to admit I paid money for it. Like, I found it in like a thrift shop.
Yeah, and I give them like
Yeah,
$2 to the
Yeah, I'm
100
dropping
kids and
$2
stuff.
for that. I mean, I was in a antique shop the other day and I saw a like a Matchbox car. It was the Kyle Petty NWO car.
Nice.
I almost purchased that.
I probably would have.
I mean, it's been there the past couple times I've been there, so I don't think it's a big seller. But yeah, I mean, something like that. Yeah, I'll drop $2 for this VHS. But yeah, I would not have paid full market price. I'd admit that.
No, can you imagine being one of the 29,000 people that bought this on pay-per-view?
You know what? We should have tried to track somebody down who actually ordered this on pay-per-view and watched it.
Yeah. I may do
Like,
that.
I mean,
We've still got a couple days.
Yeah, I think it would be great if we could find somebody that actually ordered this and watched it.
Yeah.
And not like a wrestling reporter, like just,
just a fan.
Joe Blow fan.
Just a fan.
In Topeka, Kansas, like, man, it sounds like a killer idea, man. I can't wait to see Abdul the Butcher, and there we go.
I did try to get in touch with Rosenblum and Dutch Mantell, but I didn't get any response.
It could just be one of those things that maybe they've just mentally blocked this out.
Yeah, they might have been like, I don't really want to go back there.
They're like, man, we've had years of therapy for this. Why are you bringing this back up?
That was one of the things that came up is like, when that show ended, like, were they shaking hands in the back and was like, all right, I'll see you again next week? Or was it like, well, that was good, fellas. I don't think we're ever going to be back here again.
Or was this the worst thing that's ever been done in professional wrestling?
Yeah, I wonder how many people like immediately was like, that was the worst thing professional wrestling has ever done.
Now, I will admit, if this is the worst thing ever done in professional wrestling, that's an achievement. I mean, we could do entire episodes on the worst things ever done in professional wrestling.
Okay, so let me see how to phrase this. There have been worse segments in pro wrestling.
Yes.
Like the Edge and Lita thing in the ring. Right?
Yeah.
Or the Katie Vick thing with Hunter. We could go down the list a little more with that. But as far as like the actual in the ring wrestling, this has got to be the worst. Yeah, this has got to be the worst.
Yeah, and I think what's kind of sad is that a lot of the people that appear on the show at one time were incredibly talented individuals at what they did. And it's just sort of, it's just kind of sad to see them and kind of trotting them out. Almost, at times, it almost seems almost borderline exploitive in some respects,
Yeah.
But hey, everybody needs a payoff.
Yeah, even Jake.
So, I guess, do we want to?
Yeah, let's take a little look at the matches.
Start getting into it.
Yeah.
Now, and actually, folks need to realize the amount of pain and suffering we did watching this.
It took me no fewer than 3 days to watch this show back because I sat down one night and I got to the Bushwhackers match and then I just couldn't handle anymore. And then I sat down like a couple days later, and I watched the middle 3 matches. And then I finally sat down another day to watch the whole Jake the Snake Roberts segment. So it took me some time to watch this 2.5 hour show.
Yeah, it's pretty, it was not easy. So I guess do we just want to start getting into the matches?
Yeah. So my first note here, and I probably wrote this back later when I kind of started to look at it. That ring looks like it's about 12 feet wide.
Yeah.
It looks like one of those rings that WWF used on Shotgun Saturday Night for that really short period of time when they were doing it indoors in the bars.
Right. It actually reminded me of the ring from when like television shows would have pro wrestling. Like when they would have Boy Meets World does it or Married with Children.
Oh yeah.
It's always like a short ring. I'm like, that's kind of what this reminded me of.
Yeah, this is definitely not a one of the big 20-foot WWF rings, and I don't think it's even one of the 16-foot rings that WCW was using. I mean, I think it was a tiny, tiny ring.
Yeah.
Which was probably for the best because most of these guys weren't really in shape to be running the ropes anyway.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing. So I guess should we get to the first match of the evening?
Oh, yes. Samoan SWAT team against Tommy Rogers and Marty Jannetty. Well, I guess the show does kind of start off on a high note. This is one of the high points of the evening.
That says a lot.
Yes, that does say a lot. Marty Jannetty actually looks in reasonable shape. I mean, he looks like he could still do a little bit.
Well, and this time, I mean, he was not that far removed from, I think, having a WCW deal at that time. So, I mean, he's not, and really, I mean, we're looking at this, I guess it's 93, I want to say, when he had kind of that temporary angle with Shawn Michaels coming back. So, I mean, He's not that far removed from this, but yeah, it's, of course, there's a reason why he was not employed by somebody at this moment.
Yes. What was that reason?
I believe it's drugs and alcohol.
Yes, I think that's what it was.
Which is going to be a recurring theme on the show.
Yes, it is. Most definitely.
Actually, this should be like one of those after-school specials. They just show middle schoolers why not to do drugs and alcohol.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do drugs, kids, because you could become a washed-up wrestler on Heroes of Wrestling.
Yep.
I mean, that would have gotten the message across to me.
Yeah. Yeah, you could be like this guy playing with the snake.
Or you could be Marty Jannetty, who actually is now a actual term in pro wrestling for a tag team where one guy goes to the peak of the business and the other guy is, Marty Jannetty.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's teaming with Tommy Rogers, who, Tommy Rogers had a pretty good career in tag team wrestling. Obviously, he teamed up with Bobby Fulton, who you and I interviewed.
Yep.
My gosh, that had to be 6 months ago that we interviewed him. And they're going against the Samoans.
And of course, Fatu in this match, he's gonna actually come back. That's Rikishi. So,
yes. I don't think so.
I think it is.
No, so I got it up. So we've got Samu, and he was one of the ones. He had a WWF run, and then the other one was the Samoan Savage, who's the Tonga Kid. Because I think Rikishi would have actually been under contract during this time.
Would he have been there in 99?
Well, we can look that up. But yeah, I mean, I think he was there. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, he was wrestling with
I guess he was, yeah. Look it up.
This basically shows him like from 92 on that he was with WWF.
Oh, it looks that way.
Because by this time he would have been teaming. So Too Cool was him and Brian Christopher, right?
That's right. That would have been right in 99 there. So.
Yeah. So yeah. Rikishi didn't get his name soiled working on this card.
Well, that's good.
But yeah, there's not a heck of a lot in this match. One of the Samoans, I don't remember which one it was. He was wearing sweatpants, which is just always a mark of a high quality show.
I mean, actually, I'd love to see somebody like main event WrestleMania and just come out in some sweatpants.
And it can't be Mick Foley.
Can't be Mick Foley, no.
Yeah, it can't be Foley because I think he wore sweatpants in the match with Edge.
Yeah,
which it wasn't the main event, but it was certainly an upper card match.
But no, I'd love to see like main event WrestleMania, pinnacle of your career, walk out in some sweatpants
and a t-shirt.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything else other than the Samoans no-sold a DDT.
Yeah.
They got hit with the double DDT, and they just both popped back up. And then the Samoans won.
Yep.
And
there we go.
Off we go. And
So we have
then,
the next match.
yeah, then we get kind of into one of the more tasteless angles of the night where Sensational Sherry is going into the hotel room with George Steele. And I'm just not sure what to say about that.
Well, and I think we should say that in her day, Sherry, I mean, was one of the most iconic managers in wrestling.
She was a little past that day by this point, I think.
By this point, yes. Well, that's why she's on the show. but I mean, in her day, I mean, the individuals she managed is like a who's who. I mean, it's a Hall of Fame class.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think she was the first singer of Shawn Michaels' entrance music.
She was. Yep. I mean, you think of Michaels. You think of what she did with Randy Savage. You know, you have what she did with Harlem Heat later in WCW.
Yeah.
You know, was with Flair for a while. So, yeah, it's definitely some talent she was around.
Yeah. As far as the match goes, I mean, it's a standard George Steele match, which is never exactly going to be a 5-star classic, even if he's not 60 years old.
Right.
He basically runs Valentine out of the ring, and then he gets beat up, and then they're both using foreign objects, plainly in view of the referee, by the way. And then Sherry hits him with a chair. It hits George Steele with a chair because she double-crossed him.
Right.
And that's the finish. And then, of course, George Steele bites into a turnbuckle cover.
Well, you got to send the fans home happy.
So yeah, that's that match. Yeah, not a lot to that. But it was rated -3 stars by Meltzer.
Well, there is that.
There is that. Not the worst match on the show.
That says something.
Yes, it does. You know, this is the one I was talking about a minute ago where it's like, I don't know if this would fly, where you've got this like dastardly manager taking advantage of the mentally handicapped guy.
I mean, did they even do that with Eugene?
No, they didn't.
That's all you need to know right there.
Yeah, they didn't even do that with Eugene. Yeah. Are we allowed to say mentally handicapped anymore? Or should there be like a more user-friendly term?
Well, I mean, it's better than the other options.
Yeah, that's true. It is better than some of the other options that didn't come to mind. Anyway, now we go into the match with probably the only person on the show who was like relevant in wrestling at this time. That being Too Cold Scorpio.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Julio Fantastico.
No. I don't think he was ever relevant in wrestling ever.
Oh, okay.
He did have a heck of a career. I guess he probably made a decent amount of money, but yeah, no. And
I mean, I first remember Too Cold Scorpio actually when he had a run in WCW, and actually was putting on some pretty good matches there. And then, of course, he later goes on to ECW. And of course, he had that period in WWE where I guess he was Flash Funk. There was that too.
Yeah, he may want to forget that period.
But I mean, not a bad worker at all.
No, he wasn't. He came down to the ring with a replica of the big gold belt. I don't know if there was something more to that or if he just thought it was cool.
And I love how it's never even mentioned by the announcers.
Yeah, they just totally no-sell
why does this guy have a belt? Like, it's no different than one dude you saw at Home Depot that day.
Oh, yeah. Just a big fat guy walking around with a championship belt. Nothing to see here, folks.
Nope. Just every day I'm carrying my championship out because I'm a champion at life.
Absolutely.
I mean, then again, if I had a championship belt, I'd pretty much wear it everywhere I went.
You know, if I had to get a championship belt, and one of these exists and the other one I don't think does, I either want the big silver from the U.S. Championship, the United States Championship, the one that's shaped like the current NWA World Championship,
right,
but it was silver and it was like painted inlaid. That one was a really nice one. And the World Television Championship from Georgia that also has that same shape, that's a nice one. I'd like to have either one of those.
You know, I might just go with the big gold belt.
You know, it's classic, but it's one of those that like so many people have it.
It's true.
That it's almost like cliche to have a big gold at this
point.
point.
Actually, you know, the Hogan era Winged Eagle WWF title, that was always pretty sweet.
Yeah, that was a classic belt.
But yeah, I just love that he's like walking out with a random belt. Nobody even mentions it. Nobody knows why it's there.
No. And honestly, we've probably spent more time talking about that than you could ever hope to talk about the match.
Yeah, well.
That was really like the highlight of the match. Maybe the evening was him coming out with that belt.
Yeah.
Anyways, Scorpio wins that match, and the finishing sequence was really good with him coming off the top rope and stuff. I mean, it was actually a really sharp-looking sequence. This is a match that probably would have been a really good fit on, like, Nitro. Not necessarily a great match for a pay-per-view. However, it was the highest-rated match of the night.
Well, there you go.
So this night has reached the peak, and it's just downhill from here.
Well, and to say it goes downhill is an understatement.
Oh, let me see here. So this is some of my This is a couple of the conversations I had with Thurston the other day. I think I sent this to you, or I sent part of it to you. So he says the video quality is terrible, and there's an ordering banner on the bottom, and I just go, "Oh, just keep watching." And then that's something I said the other night. I'm like, dude, the video quality was like the best part. And then I asked him, I said, "Oh, did you make it to the end?" And he goes, "No, I stopped after the Animal Steel match." And I said, "Well, buckle up because the show's like a rocket ship after that match."
Wait a minute. Are we going to load the rocket with the rocket fuel?
You got to load the rocket with the rocket fuel and fly it into the ground. Because that's where this show's going. It's going straight into the ground.
You know, the only thing I kind of they missed the boat on. I really wish they could have had Warrior on this show.
I wonder if he was still milking money out of WCW at this point.
That's a good question, but yeah, that would have. I mean, I think like just a really good Warrior appearance would have been awesome.
Yeah, he didn't even have to wrestle; just show up and get on. Just give him a microphone here. All right. Well, now that we've got that out of the way, we are going to an all-time classic match. The Bushwhackers against Volkov and Sheiky.
Sheiky, baby. Somebody's going to get humbled.
You know, I don't know who, the fans.
Yeah. And I think they felt like they got humbled the way normally the Sheik says he'll humble you. Since this is a family show, we can't say that, but
yes. Just
go to Twitter sometime.
Yeah, let's see. Who do we have here? I'm looking through the Iron Sheik's Twitter right now.
That's always fun.
The most recent one that he doesn't have pinned. I can't read the one he has pinned. Always written in caps, by the way. Most recent tweet. Don't waste time being a jabroni. # Wednesday wisdom.
That's actually good life advice. I mean, I would tell people that.
Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, from Monday, Hulk Hogan. I suplex that jabroni. And then the last one I'll read, and I have to omit one of the words. If you're happy and you know it, go blank yourself.
That's awesome.
So that was far more entertaining than this match ever was.
Yeah. What does it say that we have to go to Sheik's Twitter page to cover for the crap that was on the screen here?
It's something that should be admitted about this match. It looked like they were working in slow motion.
Well, yeah.
It's like the comedy guys that come out now that do the slow motion spots with the elbow drops and stuff. Like, these guys were doing that for real because that was as fast as they could move.
Well, I was going to say, these guys were not exactly in peak shape here.
No, I think Sheik was blown up before he hit the entrance curtain.
Yeah.
And Volkov was and blew out his second wind with the club demonstration.
Well, that was good. Well, that was a good old school touch, though. You know, that was kind of nice.
Well, yeah, that's true. I don't think the Sheik actually did any moves, did he? He just kind of stood there and waddled around. He did like the worst camel clutch I've ever seen, but that was pretty much it.
Well, and think, we're not too far removed from the coming up in the future of the gimmick battle royal, which he wins because they physically it was too risky to throw him out of the ring.
Yeah. I mean, that was a year and a half from here. So anyway, they hit a low blow in clear view of the ref. That should probably tell you all you need to know about this show. And then Volkov hits Sheik with a foreign object. Or wait, was it the manager that hit him with the foreign object? I think at this point we probably shouldn't expend too much mental energy on that.
Yeah, there's parts of this, frankly, I've already blocked out of my mind.
Anyway, Sheik gets hit with a foreign object, and there you go. There's the finish.
Yeah, this was pretty terrible.
Yeah. And so there is some trivia about this match, and we talked about this on the phone the other night. So first off, I will admit that I don't think this was actually the worst match on the card, which is something to be said. So it was rated -5 stars, which is, there's only been 5 matches ever rated that low. One of them was at WrestleMania, actually. But because they got the -5, that means Luke and Butch have a positive 5-star match and a negative 5-star match.
Yeah, this one certainly earned that rating, though.
Well, it did. It did do that.
They came by it honest.
Yeah, they got it honest here, that's for sure. Well, and they got the positive 5 honest, too, which should tell you just how far somebody can fall in a few years.
Yeah, this is, it was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I think we could probably just move on.
Yeah, for sure. We get to a Tully Blanchard promo, which was probably one of the highlights of the evening. He starts talking about the Midnight Express and the Horsemen. But, of course, he says he doesn't wrestle for a living anymore, which I don't know what the purpose of him saying that was. You know, he essentially just admits, whatever, they paid me, so I'm coming here.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I noticed that despite, kind of a bit of the layoff, these guys getting through a little edge, they still look actually pretty decent overall.
Stan looks really good.
Yeah, I mean, this is not of anything, these two guys this is probably maybe this could be considered maybe the best match on the show. As far as, the ending sucked. But, I mean, at least they're, at least they're able to work.
At least they were trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Stan Lane does his own introduction, which was actually a heck of an introduction. And then, were you paying attention when they did the crowd pan?
Oh, what did you see?
I swear I believe I saw Randy Orton.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, which is not as crazy as it sounds because his dad was on the card.
That's true.
But, yeah, I'm like, that looked like Orton, and I even went back and watched it a couple of more times to look through it.
Well, let's see. Let me go to my Google machine real quick.
Oh, you're going to see, was he there?
I'm going to see what he was doing in 1999.
Well, the dates work out. I'll tell you what he was doing in 1999 because he had just got released from the brig where he went AWOL from the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I mean, he's born in 80s. He's 19 years old.
Yeah, so I think one of the stories they said basically he just ditched on Valentine's Day, and then he stayed gone for 3 months, and then they put him in the brig for a month, and then they let him go. So, I mean, it would have been July or August that he was, sent home.
Yeah, well, that's where, I think if either one of us ever meets Randy Orton, we should ask him.
Gotta ask him.
Were you at Heroes of Wrestling?
Were you at Heroes of Wrestling? What was it?
I think that would be the greatest question ever. If we were asking about Evolution.
What was it like?
His multiple-time championships. Hey, man, were you at Heroes of Wrestling?
Actually, you could just ask him anyway because surely he watched it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
I feel like we should reach out to him on Twitter because of this.
Yeah, maybe. Or Instagram one. I don't know if he'd respond. We'll see.
You know what? I don't know. I think it's worth the Hail Mary here.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, I won't type it right now as we're recording. Probably could have. Anyway, who wins? Stan Lane wins. No. Who wins? Tully wins.
Yeah, Tully gets the shoulder up
Yep,
first.
Tully gets the shoulder up. It was the old double pinfall thing, and Stan Lane wins.
I mean, I love that this is something that's like straight out of Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's like perfect. But yeah, I mean, I would say this is probably the best, in my opinion, the best match on the show. And that's not saying much.
No, it's not. They did actually work a real match.
And also, both guys were known in their day as being tremendous workers.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, that helps. I mean,
then we get a Bundy and Jim Neidhart interview. Not a heck of a lot to that.
no.
Neither one of those are really known for their, Ric Flair level promos.
No.
And then you go to Abdullah the Butcher against One Man Gang. Sure to
kind of wish
steal the show any card in the world.
I kind of wish that One Man Gang came down as Akeem, the African Dream.
That would have been pretty hilarious. He probably couldn't. I bet Vince owns the trademarks to it.
Yeah, but still, I mean, would have been worth it.
One Man Gang does a promo that sounded like the Ultimate Warrior. Yeah. I don't know what to say. They're both bleeding. Abby's bleeding within about a minute, which shouldn't really surprise anybody.
Well, I love that, like, at times you actually see him bleeding.
I honestly didn't pay attention that close. I probably looked a few times to see if he was doing it, but I didn't catch it that close.
Yeah, this was pretty terrible.
Chair shots to the head. Abby stabs Gang with a fork and then throws the bloody fork into the crowd because that's sanitary.
And safe.
Yes. And then for the second time of the night, I actually didn't bring it up because it happened in the first match. They're out there brawling around the ring, and you hear Dutch Mantell go, "I think we need to end this match, folks." And like 5 seconds later, ding, 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 double DQ. Like he did that at least twice. Where I think the first one he said, "Well, I wonder if they can take it home," and 30 seconds later they hit the spot and boom, match is over.
Yeah.
And then this one, I mean, they just ring it to, double DQ him or double count out or whatever it was. I mean, within seconds of him saying that. So it had to have been a producer or somebody in the back, like, say, "Hey, we got to end this."
Yeah, it was, well, the recurring theme is this was terrible.
Yeah, that should be like the headline. It's terrible.
Yeah, this is just horrible.
Yeah. Then you go to the Bob Orton, Jimmy Snuka thing where they're fighting at the poker table, which is ridiculous. Lou Albano does a ridiculous promo where I don't know if I should say thankfully or not, because it probably would have just added to the mystique of the show if Jimmy Snuka would have started talking and just rambled off something unintelligible.
Yeah.
But he didn't, and then you get a really terrible promo from not Randy Orton, Bob Orton, and then
this one was.
Then they have a match.
Yeah, this match would have been killer in like 1986. Yeah,
1980.
Yeah, like the year Randy Orton was born.
Yeah. Probably the highlight of this match was that vertical suplex from Bob Orton. Which was it was one of his highlights. He did it in a lot of matches. That was certainly the highlight here. And then the crowd went into business for themselves a couple times.
That's an understatement.
The more polite thing they said is, "Bob, you suck." The other one, if you want to hear what they said, you're just going to have to go listen to it.
It's not family friendly.
It's not family friendly at all. They did a 5-minute arm bar between the two different chants.
One of Chris Jericho's favorite moves.
Arm bar.
Arm bar.
I didn't see him do an arm bar last night, but I wasn't watching that close.
Actually what cracked me up is when he came out to beat up Cody, he was wearing his championship belt.
And the shirt.
Yeah. I was like, this is an extra little touch. I'm like, this is why this guy's an all-time great.
Yeah, this match was not an all-time great, that's for sure. Jimmy Snuka wins with a crossbody, and oh boy, does business pick up from here.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man. You get the fantastic Jake Roberts interview.
Now, let's keep in mind, when he's on, Jake the Snake was one of the best promo guys out there.
Yes, when Jake is not high out of his mind, he's good.
Like, he could cut some epic promos. And see, what I always liked about Jake Roberts was in that era where, you know, you'd have Hogan yelling, Macho Man yelling, Warrior yelling, everybody's yelling. Jake Roberts never yelled. Yeah, it was just so, like, calm and methodical and cold, and I think that's what stood out so much. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's one of the very best in the business at this. This is not something you'd put on your highlight reel.
No, it's not. And honestly, it's not something that I would even try to bring up anymore. But, of course, AEW goes and does their show out in Vegas, and they get him to sit at a card table and basically recreate this.
Hey, you know, money's money.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't care. He just took the payoff no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, that could pay. I mean, that payoff could pay for a couple months of DDP yoga.
Yes, good chance of that. Anyway, yeah, this is the one where he's talking about having 22 to play blackjack, and yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. Well, actually, I do have the, you know, a quote from this we actually do have. And I quote, "You don't want to play cards with me because I'll cheat, okay? I cheat. You want to play 21? I've got 22. You want to play blackjack? I got 2 of those too. You want to play aces and eights, baby? I got too many of those too." I don't even know what I just read.
No, it doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Oh boy. So anyway, yeah. You start off, and Anvil eventually goes back to the back, and I'm sure he went back there to be like, dude, we can't do this.
Yeah.
Like, you got to start getting other people out here. We can't do this.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
And then Jake pulls the snake out, which just led to nonsense.
Yeah, this is bad.
Yeah. If you look at that, I'm pretty sure because so Bundy comes out and then Anvil comes in. I'm pretty sure when Anvil jumps back in the ring, those shots he was laying in were stiff. Like, I think he was pretty livid by this point, and he was just like, I'm going to beat this guy up. And then I think Bundy came in and put some, like, legit kicks to him, too.
Well, and, like, what I think of is, too, when he does, like, this whole thing, like, you know, where he uses the snake as well, his snake. Yeah. Like, the reason I think this thing was kind of marketed as almost family-friendly is there's a lot of kids in that audience. Like, and then he does that.
Yeah, then he does that. Lit.
Like, this is not good
lit.
stuff.
Yokozuna comes out. Looks like he weighs 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Unbelievable how big he was.
And Yokozuna, one of 2 world champions to appear on the show. He along with Sheiky.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about Sheik.
The man that made Hulkamania, baby.
Yeah. I make it to Bob Backlund humble. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. There's like a miniature version of King Kong Bundy out there who takes a Samoan drop from Yokozuna after they've pinned Jake Roberts, and mercifully the show is now over.
Well, I think what any hope they had of this thing getting a second run kind of died the moment, you know, Jake started using the snake for other things.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing. I was thinking about that at one point. I bet if Jake would not have showed up just destroyed, even if him and Neidhart went out and had a bad match, and even if Bundy and Yoko went out and had the best possible match they could have had, which would have been terrible, I think the show would have just been forgotten. Like, nobody would think about it. But yeah. I really think that it was the Jake Roberts thing that sets it like over the top, and everybody remembers it.
Isn't this also in Beyond the Mat?
I'm not sure, because
it's been a while since I watched it, but I want to say this was in
We asked the same thing last night, and you're right. It's been forever since I've seen it, too. I'm not sure if that was filmed here.
Yeah. Or it might have just been he was doing some of the same nonsense at like an indie show.
which is distinctly possible.
Yeah. But I think on the bright side, by all accounts, Jake has gotten his life together.
Yeah, there is
So
that. I
we
mean,
we should at least say that, this is not the prelude to a very tragic end.
no, it was a prelude to a tragic end for Yokozuna, though, because he's gone within about a year of this, after gaining like 200 more pounds.
And I think what's sad in this is if you look at Yokozuna in this era, and then you look at what he was doing when he had his really main run in WWF. That guy was incredibly talented.
Oh, yeah, my gosh.
His size moving that quickly is remarkable.
Yeah, if he would have stayed that size he was in 93, which admittedly was huge.
Yeah.
If he would have stayed that size, I mean, I think he could have been a long-term talent, but, he just wanted to keep gaining weight and getting bigger and bigger, and I think eventually Vince was just like, like, we're not doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is an end to maybe the worst moment in pro wrestling history as far as
yes, definitely the worst show. It's got to be. There's nothing close. Well, hang on. We should preface that or explain that. The worst show of any significance, because I'm sure there's some of these cosplay wrestling shows and some of this nonsense where people are using the Force to choke each other and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, surely that's got to be worse, but when you're in a beer hall in front of 10 people, it's a little different than when you're running a nationwide pay-per-view.
And people bought this.
They did. People did pay money to buy this on pay-per-view.
Yeah, I would just love to know their thought process.
Well, people paid money. Actually, that would have almost been a false statement. I almost said people paid money to see that Battle Royal at the AEW show a couple of months ago, but actually they didn't. That was the free part of the show.
Correct.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, by all accounts, a just horrible, horrible show.
Yeah, ridiculous. Top to bottom bad. When a star and a quarter is the highest rated match on the card,
yeah,
you got something pretty bad.
Yeah, you do.
And 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 matches rated worse than -2 stars.
I mean, if you're going to be bad,
just go epic bad. And that's surely what they did here. But again, I do wonder if you could have somebody watch through this who didn't know and say, okay, when they ring the bell on the Bob Orton match to end it, stop watching.
Yeah.
I wonder what the response would be.
I think it would not have been, I don't think it would have had the iconic status it does in wrestling lore.
No, I don't think it would have.
I think this would just be one of those things, hey, do you remember this? Yeah, vaguely. Pretty much, you tell any wrestling fan, here is a legend, Jake Snake.
Oh, yeah, they're going to know what it is.
Yeah, and it's, I think what's remarkable, though, is I think it shows how quickly the shelf life of some of these guys goes away. As recently as, you think about this is 1999. Roberts is not that far removed from the moment where he, helped coin the Austin 316 promo.
Yeah, about 3 years. But if we're honest, he was already pretty on the downhill by then.
But I'm saying, but even 92, he's in, a major feud in WCW with Sting.
Yeah, and sometime like 90 or 91, he had the big program with Hulk Hogan.
Yes, we're looking at a guy that's not that far removed from that, but I think it shows the absolute devastation that, drug and alcohol addiction can have on somebody.
He is actually, Yokozuna is pretty, he's near his big run on top too.
Yeah.
But a lot of these other guys like Snuka, by this time, he's probably 15 years removed from his main event run. When he was main event in Portland and all the territories and stuff.
Right.
Obviously he worked WrestleMania in 1991, which there's only one reason that's memorable, and it's because of The Undertaker.
Right.
Tully and Stan, I mean, they had been retired for years, really, at this point.
Right.
And then, I mean, the Bushwhackers, as weird as it is, that Bushwhacker gimmick that Vince gave them, that gave them new life.
Oh, yeah.
Because that gimmick that they were running in the 80s, that had way less shelf life than coming out being a goofy, comedy babyface.
You know what? It would have been amazing somebody that was, a fan of the Bushwhackers that era. All of a sudden show them a tape of the Sheep Herders. And they would just be like, what the heck
Yeah, they
is
wouldn't
this?
know what to do. Well, and the same thing, if somebody was a Sheep Herders fan and didn't know about the Bushwhackers, it does go both ways like that.
Yeah, that was... I mean, you think about, Yokozuna, he is 6 years removed from being world champion.
Less than that, like 5.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys are past probably. You have some guys that just not that too long ago. Even Marty Jannetty was not too many years removed from being, a somewhat prominent player.
Right.
So, yeah, I think you look at that and I think it shows for some of these guys how quickly things can fall apart.
Oh, and by the way, the combined age of the Bushwhackers versus Sheik and Volkov match, 216 years.
Nice.
Yeah. That's almost up there. Actually, that surpasses the combined age of the Kane and Undertaker versus Shawn and Hunter match last year.
Maybe what we should do is maybe offer, like, the folks in Saudi Arabia a Heroes of Wrestling type show. Because basically that's what WWE is giving them.
Oh, absolutely. It's what they're giving them. They're just bringing out the has-beens and throwing them over there.
And in all seriousness, when the Flair-Hogan promo started Monday night, my initial thought was, dear God, they're going to do this in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. I was like, no, please, come on, don't do this.
Yeah.
Flair, I honestly have no desire to see again. Hulk Hogan,
no.
I could stand to see him in one more match if it was done right. It would have to be a tag match, something like that. Get him out there, something you can get him a good pop, and I think that could actually draw. Something where he doesn't have to do much.
Yeah, that was my biggest worry when I was like, oh, dear God, they're going to do this match. And once again, I mean, there's no desire. I have no desire to. I mean, as we've said before, I have no desire to watch any of those Saudi Arabia shows.
No.
But
I only let me see. I did watch the Greatest Royal Rumble show, but admittedly, that was before they killed the journalist.
Well, and for me too, you've got. I mean, like what I thought they were going to do with like Hogan and Flair is like, are they going to do Greatest Survivor Series?
Greatest Survivor Series.
I'm just waiting until like they get to the point where they're like, greatest in your house, beware of dog.
Yeah. But yeah, I did watch the Greatest Royal Rumble, and I sat through that Undertaker Goldberg match because I heard how bad it was. And I was not disappointed.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that match could have fit perfectly on this card.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they would have had enough time, though. I mean, Undertaker took like 10 minutes to get to the ring. So I don't know if they could have fit that on this show for time constraints.
Yeah, all in all, it was pretty bad. And I think this is a prime example of there's a fine line between, at the tail end of your career, to just say, you know what, that's it. I'm going to do the autographs, I'm going to do the photos, I'm going to do the speaking stuff, and getting into the ring.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Who still does it? Sandman from ECW still does it. But, like, he does his entrance where he comes through the crowd and he's drinking beer in the crowd. And then he gets in there and he beats a couple of people up with the kendo stick. Yeah. And then somebody, because he's usually working battle royals, right? So he beats somebody up and then they throw him out. And that's it.
Yeah.
which you can sort of deal with. It doesn't just make it all look phony and everything.
And I mean, like, occasionally you have those moments where, like, Arn Anderson will come out and give somebody a spine buster.
Yeah.
But, like, you're not saying, hey, Arn, can you carry a match?
Come work a whole match for us.
Yeah, but I think, we should probably do the Dutch Mantel and bring this thing home.
Yeah, we should.
It was, I think, all in all, pretty terrible.
Yes. Very terrible match, without a doubt. Very terrible.
But we would highly recommend everybody watch it.
You definitely should watch this because it's a classic in all the wrong ways.
Yes.
So, yes, definitely go watch this show. It's on YouTube. You don't have to pay anything for it. You can watch it from the comfort of your couch.
Let's face it, this thing will never be on the network.
No.
Actually, you know what I would love one day? To just be scrolling through the hidden gems section of the WWE network, and they put Heroes of Wrestling
Absolutely.
on.
Well, and so that was one of the funny things that he was asking last night. He's like, why was the video quality so bad? And I was like, well, you got to think. I'm sure the owners of this company didn't think to save any master tapes of this thing.
No.
Because as I understand it, the owner of the company was on a plane out of Biloxi before the show even ended. And so I'm sure they didn't save any masters. And so all you've got is the one or two people in the world who made a VHS recording of this thing and kept it. And, there you go. It was, say, if somebody recorded this on VHS, they probably stored it in their attic for 10 years and then dug it out and found it. And, that's why you just have the terrible video quality.
But we're glad
it's still available. And yes, you are right. Let's bring this one to a close. Always a pleasure talking to you. We'll do it again.